Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Arcus the Eagle, merchant extraordinaire.
And with us today, we have a very special guest. That is GAVRIEL Quiroga. How are you doing today, GAVRIEL?
Hello, guys. Ryan and Hunter. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's great to have you on. I mean, we're big fans of your work.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that for those out there listening that might not know your work as well as we do, who the heck are you? What might people know you for in this space here?
I'm an artist and game designer. Also, I try to be a writer. I created Neurocity, Warpland, Gallant Knight. Just finished the Black Rainbow Society and campaigning for Lords of Death and Illusion with Gallant Knight's games.
Does he know how to do anything besides make games? I think he's got like 300-400 games at this point. It's crazy. Alan Barr's output. Yes. It's insane.
It's very prolific.
Yeah. And as
and so I think Alan, I have to say that Alan is a great force in the industry, in the independent industry, and he helped me very much in my early days finding a printer and helped me with all the doubts I had. So he's super recommendable. Everyone checks out his stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
The one thing that I love of Alan and Gallant Knight games too is the amount of stuff that he not only does for just like his stuff, but the number of projects he's doing with like other people a lot of times. And we'll get a little bit more into Lord of Death and Illusion and your guys' connection with Gallant Knight and that. But some of the things that you've talked about, some of the things we've talked about on the show, some of your past work before we get there. One of which, as I said before, I'm holding in my hand. This is the new version of Warpland. Hunter, for those in podcast land, is holding the old version and Neurocity. I ran into Warpland first before I ran into Neurocity, and this is the first time that we encountered your work and talked about it here on the show. I was trying to scroll back and find actually what episode that we did that on, because that was quite a while ago.
You can get it for very cheap in Drive-Thru-RPG.
Oh, with the poster? Nice.
Yeah, you can get it in Drive-Thru-RPG for nothing.
Yeah, I love, as we were saying before the show started, the cover of the new, I guess it was like the European version.
Yeah, that's
stunning.
Bruce Pennington, one of the best fantasy illustrators ever.
That's a fantastic poster. But I will say that we did Warplands on episode 7.
No,
wow.
Yeah,
it's not that long ago.
It was episode 7, which means it was like the 3rd or 4th episode I was on the show.
Which episode?
Over 2 years ago.
No. On which episode are we?
180.
Wow.
And that doesn't include all of our. That doesn't include all of like the APs and everything like that. Actual number of episodes we've done, I think it'll be like 232. So
and we did Hell Knight on episode 111, which is a great number.
Yeah, great number.
You're also very prolific then.
Yeah.
No, well, we talk a lot. Doesn't mean people listen to us, but we talk a lot for sure.
Oh, so also requires a lot of work to do this.
Yeah, we could do a little bit more, make it a little nicer, but you know, people get what we get. Yeah. But Warpland, fantastic game. We talked about on the show, and then as we said before, we talked about Gallant Knight on the show. Neurocity, Warpland, Gallant Knight, they all use roughly like the same core system. But I know that with Gallant Knight, when, you know, because we've been talking for a while, especially once Gallant Knight was coming out, that Gallant Knight is a thing that you're kind of like really latching onto and expanding more and expanding the universe. Because on top of that, you also have like Sigil, the card game. I should go grab those as well. Black Rainbow Society is an expansion for Gallant Knight, if I'm not completely mistaken. So I guess talk to us a little bit about like the system first, since you use it kind of through Neurocity, Warpland, and Gallant Knight. What drew you to specifically like the mechanics that you choose to do in that?
Yeah, it's a 2d6 roll under the stat system. I think that I wanted something that was easy, intuitive, and that allowed for complications both in successes and failures. That's something that's very important to me. It also allows for criticals in everything you do. So you can have a critical in a social endeavor. I really like that. And I also like that when you attack, there is a damage that escalates with how successful the attack was. And that's something very appealing for me because it makes the combat much faster.
Right.
Those are the premises. And Hell Knight for me is a more condensed version of the Warpland system. It's the most easiest version of the system.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we were fans of Warpland when it came out, especially the book, because my gosh, as an artist, you are fantastic, and the work that you put in these books is insane. Yeah,
but it's not my responsibility. It's the responsibility of the artist I choose to use. I work with collage. I also hire artists to do their own stuff. For me, the aesthetics is the main thing before embarking on a project. I work with aesthetics first and with the concept.
Yeah. Which it's a great way to do it in a I don't know, Hunter, if you feel about this in a kind of an adjacent way. A lot of your work really reminds me a lot of what like Andre at Games Omnivorous does, where there's like always this very specific focus on like the artistry of the project as much as like the gamification and everything like that. And it's one thing that like I really love about your work and theirs, and it gives me like, it reminisces a little bit based on that, where the focus is really to kind of be a little bit more art house and have more of a focus on, like you said, the aesthetics of it, not just like a mechanical aspect of it.
Yes, absolutely. I try to embark on it from the visual aspects. And I also, when I write, I choose like a playlist that is specifically designed for that project. So I try to, it's all like a mixture of everything, no? Music, visuals, and then my writing. And I have found that most people don't read that much. So I try to intermingle everything together with the visuals and the writing, and everything is one whole work. Everything points towards the same concept, and it's like a hammer pointing the same thing.
Yeah.
If it is science fantasy or acid fantasy in the case of Warpland, or if it is doom biker metal in the case of Hell Knight, or dystopian tech noir in the case of Neurocity.
You do a really great job of reinforcing that vibe through all aspects of it. I do especially like listening to the music that comes along with the game that really like reinforces like the Warpland album is what I'm thinking of specifically. But that does really help to push that.
Well, I think that the idea is that you can have the book lying on the session, and the players can just scoop over it, and they will get a feel of what the setting is about without having to read it, maybe. So it's like it has like two layers. You can just admire the visual aspect of it, and then just delve into it with the writing and the lore, which tries to be not overly complex, but at least interesting or original. I try to develop something that, at least for me, has not been done before, or add something different to it.
Yeah. So one of the things you said was that Hell Knight is kind of like a more focused version of the mechanics. And I think when I look at like your kind of like all the work that you've done, Neurocity is fantastic, Warpland is fantastic, but to me, and maybe this is just an outside perspective, but Hell Knight feels like everything just coming together perfectly. Like simplify the system a little bit. Artistically, it went even above and beyond. The OST from Hi Matt is absolutely fantastic. The soundtrack for it, it's like this experience. And for us on the show, I mean, we do quantify our shitty opinions with like actual numbers, and Hell Knight is like one of the top, I think, 2 highest scores we've ever given for a game here on the show. It was an incredible, like, yeah, I mean, well deserved. Yeah. The experience of reading it was...
Thank you for taking the time to delve into it. No, it always requires time, and time is not in abundance.
Yeah, we're happy to.
I really appreciate that, and I think that I need to consider that when I make a book, because people are going to pay it, and then they are going to invest some time reading it or appreciating it. So for me, it's like a huge responsibility. I
Well,
really
you know,
take it
part
seriously.
part of you know what comes into our scores is because we don't just do like game reviews. It's not just system reviews. It's like a product review as well. So it's like how the art looks, how it's laid out, like how readable is it, all those kind of things. So one of the things that was so great about Hell Knight for us specifically, I mean, is part of what you talked about is that like you have this really good focus on like making sure that the art reinforces the theme. There's never too much. You're never going to read just like a pure page of like block text because it's just too much. And when you throw in the collage art, the streamlined mechanics, the soundtrack and everything, it's like an experience to read Hell Knight differently than some other books that we've had to go through that feel more, you know, kind of like reading essays or something where like sometimes you need to slog through a little bit. Like going through Hell Knight, reading it, flipping the page, seeing the next piece of art, like seeing some like fucked up thing that you wrote and like us like laughing about it like as we're going through it on the show. It was a really fun game to go over, and I'm really excited that you have expanded on that world. So first was the card game that you put out, and next was the Black Rainbow Society, which is funded and in the process of happening now. So tell me a little bit about like why you decided to kind of latch on to Hell Knight and expand that universe a little bit more with your work.
I think it's just something that I wanted to do. I always go with where my heart is. I think that no, I am pretty sure that there will be a Warpland expansion as well by end of the year. Also with Bruce Pennington's art, about 3 or 4 works from him. But regarding Hell Knight, I really wanted to do a card game, Sigil the Mirror Reality, that besides being a great game, I'm also a Magic the Gathering fan, but I am a bit discouraged by the current trend of it. I wanted to develop something different. So the card game actually is like a platform that helps emphasize other aspects of that same setting. And in the same way, the Black Rainbow Society works like a spin-off of the setting because you can interpret other characters dealing with other problems. In the case of the Black Rainbow Society, it's like a narco-terrorist group that stumbles upon a psychedelic drug that awakens their third eye, so they start seeing demons and otherworldly entities. It's a bit inspired in Scanners, the movie, and also in They Live. So it's like a mash of those two movies, I think, with a very, very 80s oriented, of course.
This is such a random side thought, but like I'm not a big fan of like remakes and stuff. But I would definitely, if someone could remake Scanners in like a good way, I want that movie redone with like just slightly better graphics, make the heads explode a little bit nicer. And that's such an incredible movie. But like anyone that's going like, oh, I was inspired by Scanners, like I'm like, great, I'll read it. Just like give it to me. That's fine.
Yeah, with Michael Ironside, no?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's a lot of your work pulls from the 80s, you know, like obviously Hell Knight is like an 80s doom metal biker kind of thing. Like what, like why 80s doom metal? Like what kind of, besides the fact that it's fucking awesome, like what kind of pulled you like in that direction?
I think that it comes from my childhood, from renting VHS tapes. I had like a green light from my folks to just go to the store and rent whatever I wanted. So I basically went every couple of days and rented like 5 tapes or whatever I wanted, Hellraiser or Freddy Krueger or whatever, and it like made me. It made me who I am right now. So I am a bit fascinated or obsessed about that whole decade in particular. But I'm also a 90s guy. I like the 90s as well. I like the 70s. Yeah. But the 80s, at least for this setting, this is where it is. Also Warpland, I think that feels very 80s, but from more Flash Gordon, maybe something like that, or more Conan.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely a little bit of Hyperborea kind of like tucked in there. And then
in the case of Neurocity, it fits a bit more from old like Godard French movies. That's why it's in black and white. Alphaville was a great inspiration behind that, and also that that movie from George Lucas, 11. I can remember the name of the first movie that George Lucas did. That was this a sci-fi movie. What THX 11 something. THX 11.
Oh, THX 1138.
Yes, that's a great movie. I super recommend everyone to watch the movie. It's an amazing movie.
Honestly, don't think I've ever seen it. I know I've heard it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, you can see the genius behind George Lucas in that movie.
Okay.
It's so little, he does so much.
Did he go back and remake 20 versions of it with CGI that kept getting worse, or no?
No, I don't think.
But so Hell Knight, 80s doom metal, all those kind of things. I'm super excited for Black Rainbow Society. I know I just showed the stream, but I love Hell Knight. It's fantastic. All of your work is gorgeous. The cover though for Black Rainbow Society goes so hard. A lot of your work that you do in Hell Knight and everything. I know you said you know, a lot of amazing artists and work that goes into it, but maybe tell me if I'm completely wrong on this, but most of Hell Knight was done physically by hand and then scanned into the computer, right?
Yes, it was done by an artist called Tommaso Spicoli, and he's like a very old school skater, graffiti artist, and he does all these collage works, and he uses photocopy machines and scans, and yes, everything's super analog in the case of Hell Knight. In the case of Black Rainbow, I took that style and I did my own thing with my collage. So Black Rainbow is the only work that was mostly exclusively done by me.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
And
it's such a visually distinct style. It came out so well.
Yeah.
It works like a. I wanted to do like a visual trip, or like it was like a movie, or trying to replicate what's the psychedelic trip of the characters for Black Rainbow. So the first half of the book will work a bit like that, giving you small pieces of what the setting is about, characters speaking, monsters speaking, demons speaking, some poetry, some slices of truth within the setting. I think that it's important to ignite that creativity in the reader as well. So the players make the setting their own version of the setting, because I understand that role-playing games is like a collaborative storytelling effort between the writer and the reader and the player.
Yeah, I mean, you really do understand that. I mean, it's what's funny when we first started going through Hell Knight. I don't know if it was you or me, but we're like 80s, we'll see. And then we get to it and it's like, no, we mean Black Sabbath. We don't mean like Wasp. Like there's a little bit of a difference here. And it was so fun to go over. And the vibes, as we said before, like with the art, whether it's yours or somebody else's.
There is a lot of Lost Boys also, the movie Lost Boys in Black Rainbow.
Yeah.
Oh,
got that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then beyond your past work, go into your current work right now. We talked about it a little bit at the top of the show with Gallant Knight, with Alan Barr. You're putting out Lords of Death and Illusion. I was lucky enough to get a peek of this a little while ago. I'm very excited to see it out on BackerKit. It's already funded, but obviously, if you're listening to this, go fund it. I'll make sure that we get this episode out before the 4 days are up. But tell us a little bit about Lords of Death and Illusion.
Yeah, it's going to be a small 30-page fanzine. Beautifully illustrated. I'm sure you have it's all full of artwork. Every page has something. I think it fits the style of most of my books. But in this case, this is a GM-less competitive role-playing game, so it does not need a director, a DM. So my idea was to create a game which I could play when I had a GM or DM burnout. So I could still play with that. I wanted to provide a mechanic that that work, that could create a story, but at the same time was easy, a system that fade away behind the story. And I think that it works. We are still using it. We use it last week. People want to play it. It's really lots of fun, and it's very unpredictable. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the end, how it's going to end. It's very open.
Sounds honestly
and it fits, and it's very adjustable to other settings. So in the case of Lords of Death and Illusion, it comes with a Morgborg or Troika or Hell Knight or Warpland specific mechanics, so you can fit the game into that setting, and you can use it to create as a backup plan behind the campaign.
So what makes it so like chaotic? Like you said that, you know, it's GM-less, but like you never know what's going to happen. Like what about the game, the mechanics, and like what you put into it makes it where it's so like reusable and chaotic, so you don't know what happens at the end?
Well, you take turns to interpret the warlock, because this is a game about wizards or warlocks fighting each other. So you take turns to interpret that warlock and create the story of what you are going to do against all of them. And then the mechanics provide you roll a dice, and the rest of the players need to find out if what you're saying is bullshit or is actually happening. And that depends on the dice, which is hidden. So they need to decide whether it is an illusion or a bullshit, or it is truth. And based on that, things will fire up. Yeah. It's a very simple idea, but it works, and it helps the storytelling a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
No, like I said, you sent it to me quite a while ago to go over, and at the time I was like, "Hey, it looks amazing, just like all of your work. It's fantastic." But the game itself is so fun, going through like the tables and things that you have written in it. If anyone's on the fence about backing this, just fucking do it. It's on top of the fact that everything that GAVRIEL does, it's amazing. Like this is really, really, really fun, especially to have just like a small zine to jump into.
I think it's only $15. The PDF is also very cheap, so it's very
I think PDF was $5. I was like, I backed at the $15. I'm backing for the book, you know. $15. I'm getting the zine. I love the name Lords of Death and Illusion. Amazing title, really fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. And the whole artwork is done. Because the version I showed you, Ryan, was made with me doing collage art. But Alan Barr from Gallant Knight wanted to use Simone Tameta artwork. So this book will be strictly with all Simone Tameta's artwork, and with all my layout as well.
Cool.
Yeah, he has an awesome style.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and it is system neutral, but like there are mechanics for like you said, a couple of other games. Why did you pick Troika, Merkborg? Well, obviously Hell Knight and Warpland are yours, but why'd you pick Troika and Merkborg specifically for this as well?
I love those games. I love the premise behind those settings. I think they are very colorful settings, and they are very different from all the rest. So I wanted to produce like a kaleidoscope of options which you can play and use for those settings. But you can pretty much adjust it to your favorite setting. I mean, you can play Mothership even you like with this game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I always forget you have like a Cthulhu Dark Mothership hack too that I want to go over at some point. That's really, really fun. Hunter, I don't know if you've seen it's Dark Ship, right?
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's Fox. It's really good. I like it. Yeah.
There is also an alien hack, also an alien dark hack, which is also quite using that same system. But the system is inspired by Graham Walmsley Cthulhu Dark, which is an amazing book. Amazing book.
Yeah, really great. I mean, I'm a huge Trophy Dark fan, and that uses a lot of Cthulhu Dark as well. So Cthulhu Dark is definitely something we should just do that at some point. But maybe we'll get to it in creepy season again. But so
Trophy
you're doing
Dark
the project.
I love Trophy Dark also. It's very very good.
Such a good game.
Trophy Dark is very good.
One of my favorite games. Period. but you're doing this project with Alan Barr from Gallant Knight. So you said when you first started getting into it, Alan was there for you. How did the relationship with you and him kind of start? And like, how did it get to this point now where you're doing this project with him on BackerKit?
Well, at the beginnings, I connected with him. It was more a cry of help from my part because I was a newcomer and I had trouble with my original printer. I had some trouble, so he recommended me his own printer. They were very professional. So he really helped me out finding the right printer for my work. I'm very satisfied with these guys, with the quality of the books they make. So yeah, he has been really helpful. He's actually really helpful with every creator. So he's a really good force of good in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Alex T from Black Oath, I know, does a lot of work with him, and then he's a good friend of ours too. We should just talk to Alan at some point. I remember, so I love a lot of Alan stuff. I have a lot of Gallant Knight stuff. I have that blue box is actually gosh, he has this one, and I don't know why it's like one of my favorite ones because it's just so funny when you look at all the stuff that Alan and Gallant Knight has done. You see like the Baywatch RPG basically, and that one always cracks me up so hard. We'll have to do that one in the summer, but the spread of games that he does, styles, systems, and on top of that, help the amount of people that you'll see a project and be like, oh, that looks really cool. And it's like, oh, Gallant Knight's working on it too, or Gallant Knight's doing this part of it or that. It's really awesome to see them putting so much work and effort into the industry. And as far as what Gallant Knight is doing for Lords of Death and Illusion, was he like doing like project management, or like what exactly is his role in this project?
He's doing the BackerKit campaign. They are doing the BackerKit campaign, and they are doing the distribution of the game.
Awesome.
And they also he's the one that hired the artist as well.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
Simone.
Yeah. Listen, if I ever start making stuff, I gotta find somebody that will just pay somebody that will just do all of that stuff for me, because having people in the industry that have that kind of knowledge has got to be like a hack right when you get in.
Also, I forgot to mention production.
Yeah,
which is very important because I think that writing the game, it's only like 10% of the work.
Yeah, it does seem like, through our hundreds of episodes and talking to people, it seems like the actual production and distribution of the game is such a massive, and running the BackerKit or Kickstarter is such a massive portion of it.
Yes,
a lot of it has to be handled fairly delicately as well, and it seems like a lot.
It can burn you out.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with anyone who puts out any amount of projects, even a single one. So
yeah, that's why it's so great that he manages to do so much.
Yeah,
he must be he is incredibly focused and disciplined.
What's that like?
Yeah, it must be nice.
Exactly the opposite of me.
So Lords in Death Illusion, it's got 4 days left on it. It's going to be coming out relatively quickly. Is this a zine that is being like printed and distributed, or is this coming through Drive-Thru RPG? Like, how is that actually getting into people's hands?
It's going to be printed, offset printed.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yes.
And then you said it's only like 37 pages, so it's zine style, right? We're not hitting perfect bound or anything.
I think it probably will be 30 pages, and there is a stretch goal that it will include cards, one card for the illusion and the other card for the death. That's what the players need to choose. These are the 2 cards. So this is the decision you have to make against the storyteller of that turn.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm so excited, not only just for this game, but like every time I look at any things you do, I'm like, man, we should just start like a Hell Knight game, dude. Like that's what we should be doing right now.
I'll play a Hell Knight game.
Dude, I would play a Hell Knight game in a heartbeat. Beyond Lords of Death and Illusion though, I know you sent it to me, and I know the page is up for like possibly like the next project. Is that something that you are talking about, like the thing that's up on Kickstarter now, or are you waiting to talk about that a little bit?
Regarding what, Ryan? Sorry, I lost you.
Your next project that's out on Kickstarter. I don't want to say the name of it unless.
Yes, Hellworld Earth is a setting that was created by Patrick Austin Durribash, and he's an amazing illustrator. He's like a mix between Ian Miller and Warhammer 40,000. He's a really amazing artist. I found his work and I immediately approached him to create the game based on that setting and on his artwork and his character. He made about 80 characters, 80 illustrations already. He's a really, really amazing emerging artist. I'm really stoked about creating this. It's going to be a war game with 2D cardboard figures.
Oh.
Yeah, let me show you the prototypes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like this.
Oh,
nice.
Awesome.
Holy shit.
Really something. I think that I'm really happy about showing this because I want to concentrate on traditional artists, and this guy works with ink in the very traditional style, and everyone's doing their 3D printing minis for war games. So I wanted something exactly the opposite, different.
Yeah, I sorry for those in podcast land. You didn't get to see the little 2D minis. Go watch on YouTube. And then you get to see the preview. But that's great. Listen, I've liked skirmish games for a long time. We're Forbidden Psalm fans here on the show, obviously, but I've been getting deeper into like skirmish games and war games, and I just don't have the fucking space for all the minis. I really love when games have either like little meeples or especially like just the cardboard pieces, exactly, because you can have 1,000 of those in a stack this big versus 1,000 and need a whole room for them. So it's really nice to have that, and I can only imagine like cost efficiency wise, it's going to be a lot easier to produce those than it would be to like try to get some type of mini produced on top of easier to buy.
Absolutely, much easier, and you can fit everything in just a box, and you have 3 factions, amazing factions. So yeah, the game is going to be incredible, very brutal. The setting is very well written by him. So I'm stoked about presenting it. It's really something else, very, very different, very focused on ultra violence, and it's incredible because Patrick is such a gentle guy and such a mild and kind guy. Makes this, it's like wow. It's incredible. And very different with what I'm used to doing.
Because it's a war game, or because the setting sounds like something you would do.
Because it's a war game, and because it's also like a post-apocalyptic, futuristic mayhem thing, and sometimes it's when stuff is too oriented towards violence or brutality, maybe you can get misguided and think there is no content or substance behind it. But in this case, it has something else, no? There is like a statement behind it.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
I really dig it.
So as far as the actual setting itself, you're saying this is like are there any like movie or book touchstones that you're talking about? Because you're saying it's like is it like future post-dystopian apocalypse, or?
It's so far away in the future. It's like people merge with shrooms and with demons, and factions emerge from all that chaotic. It's like after the Third World War, and the only sense in that carnage is fighting each other because they want to do that, and humanity is just plays only a small role in there. They are like trying to survive in that setting where everything is fucked up. Yeah.
Well, listen, if you could describe my perfect game, I think you just might have done it. So yeah. I'm definitely excited for this one. Like, if you, God, my dumb little edgelord heart is so stupid, but I love this stuff, and I'm really excited. And obviously, if you're working on the project, I mean, there's going to be like we've talked about it over and over again. Like, you don't half-ass anything. You double-ass everything. Everything that you do is there's a soundtrack, and there's this hand on art, this focus on traditional art, like you said, with the ink and stuff like that.
We are already working on a death metal album for it. So there's going to be a death metal album collaboration with many artists.
And that's exactly my point. You're like, oh no, we already have an album going for it too. Like, that's fantastic. I mean, the amount of work and attention to the vibes that you put into your work is one of the reasons that we love your work so much. And not only seeing, like, again, the new version of Warpland, which I'm excited to see, potentially an expansion for Warpland coming out, and these two projects on top of it. Are you like how busy are you right now? You got like 3 projects going right now. Are you just like humming along? Is it just like, this is where you want to be, like having this much work going on at one time? Like, how does it feel to be kind of like this deep in so many different things?
I think it feels very chaotic. This is pretty much the only thing I do. It works. I managed to live from it for the last 3 years. I think that what I try to do, as I said, I try to do what inspires me and what drives me. So that's also a problem, because projects sometimes stack up. So I need to try to be as organized as possible and make like a queue of projects. Also, it helps me a lot to stretch for collaborations, like in the case for Lords of Death and Illusion. It helps me out to do that. So I'm looking forward to do that in order to finish the projects in a more orderly manner. So that's what I'm aiming to do. But I'm super happy with it. I'm doing what makes me happy, what I love doing. And I'm pretty happy with how it ends up looking so far. So for me, it's like they are my little children. Every book is like a little children. I have no preferences.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like you said, like, they're all fantastic, and I mean, but I will say, Hell Knight for me, I love all your work, but Hell Knight, dude, it just hums so well. Like, it just takes everything to 11 with everything that you've done. Like, I don't know, I just feel like everything else is like fantastic, but something for me about the way that all aspects of that game kind of like land at the exact same spot just like hits. Like, the first time I read it, I was like blown away, and Hunter was like, we'll do some like 80 stuff or whatever, and then we both read it, and we both, like, I remember a point where we look at each other and go, oh, like, this is a game, like, this is a game, you know.
I'm not the biggest 80s guy, but I think Hell Knight it worked so well, and it was just so, like, it's just a game you read that you're just like, okay, well, we need to play this, like, we have to play this, you know.
Well, I think it's a very easy game to jump into, because also there's such an amount of music, movies, or whatever that just nail the concept. So it's quite easy to grasp it, I think. Yeah. I don't think there is something similar or as similar. For me, the most similar game is Cult, maybe. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I love Cult too. So
like a modern horror. I think that it has that splatterpunk aspect.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's good. And then you said so you said there maybe, you know, like next year we're talking about like a Warpland expansion. Is that something that's like, even, is that just a thought, or is there some work being put into that already?
No. It's pretty much written. It's already written, that expansion. So I just need to have the time to lay it out. Gotcha. So I have some artwork. I have I have 2 new regions that it will be about. Yeah, and I'm very stoked because the characters are going to be amazing. It's really going to add a lot of dimensionality to the setting.
Gotcha. So is that the focus of the project? Is a supplement that just like kind of expands the world itself, and then all the things that fill that in?
Yes, expanding the world itself and bringing more lore into it. Maybe some rules tweaking, but I don't like to deal with mechanics so much. For me, it's a hassle to write about mechanics. I'm not very good at it, maybe that's why I was not as good. I think that I was very lucky with Gallant Knight because I consulted a few colleagues, so they helped me develop it as good as I could. But I don't like writing about mechanics. I just like writing about the setting and the world and creating all the aesthetic and the concept. And I really do a lot of digging and research and investigate which other settings try to touch what I'm aiming at. Well, for example, I'm a very big fan of Mothership. I would love to do Mothership, and but the problem is that Mothership is already done. So I wouldn't be able to do it, to add something different to it.
Yeah.
It will take me a lot of work to do it. I have an idea to do something in space already.
Dude, I would love a Mothership adventure or a Mothership module written by you. I think that would be so awesome. I would love to see that.
Well, hopefully someday maybe it will happen.
I'll watch out and hope for it because I would absolutely back that. I would be super stoked on that.
It will probably be like because Neurocity and Warpland are tied up chronologically,
which is great.
I love it. So good.
Yeah. So what I will do for space, it will probably continue that.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it will definitely continue that. Yeah.
So then I guess my question then, because you said because I'm a big mechanics guy. I love mechanics. I love reading other people's like lore and stuff like that and come up with my own. But like I really like that's what gets me going is like, you know, D6 probabilities and stuff like that. But if you're like, I'm not really a big mechanics guy, why do you keep making games? Like I guess that's my question. Like you keep I guess a system kind of again like carries through a lot of the games, but have you written a bunch of just like adventures for other games or anything like that, or do you have any plans for that, or do you keep planning to like just build these worlds with your system and expanding to be able to build the lore for that?
I think that at the moment I'm planning to develop the worlds, the existing worlds I have, and also maybe expand them with another spin-off from those worlds. I have a post-apocalyptic world already that's going to be a continuation of Neurocity. That's going to be called Meltdown. And then, well, the one in space is going to be called Starlight. So they are all settings that are very connected with the previous one. It's like a 4-story arc,
Gotcha.
Mainly about that setting. I also love systems and mechanics. I love creating them and I love reading about them. I just don't like writing them.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's why we get Worlds of Quiroga, right? Like these are your worlds. Like this is, especially since so many of them are going to be set in the same universe, basically.
Yeah, it's just a fancy name for what I do. But again, I call them Worlds of Quiroga. But I really emphasize that to me, those worlds are a collaborative effort between me and the players. So each table, each session, they will create their own versions of those worlds. So that's why I am very conscious about leaving a lot of space for them to play with it and add their own feel and their own thoughts about the way things should be in that world.
Very cool.
I think that for me, that idea came from, I used to study literature, and that idea came from Raymond Carver, who's a great short fiction writer, and he always developed a style in which he left a lot of space for imagination in order that you can fill the gaps of the plot yourself. And it creates an enriching experience. And that's what I want. That's what I do with my work.
Yeah, I mean, you do it very, very well. Like it's, and again, I mean, I'm just gonna keep like glazing Hell Knight right now. But like, you know, especially when reading that book, like there's not like the amount of things where like you give this seed or you have this like list or whatever, and the way that when listening to the music and going through the book and seeing the art, the way that your mind just like blows up for the possibilities that come from like this like 5 lines you wrote in, it's crazy. You know, when we were going through, I just remember like going through combinations of like some of the lists and some of the character stuff, and just imagining like entire campaigns spinning off of like these tiny little things that you put in, and it's
plot seeds. Yes, I love plot seeds. I love tables. I love random plot generators. I love that. For me, it's about that, not about making a whole adventure, but about igniting that creative fire in the reader. For me, it's about that. That's what I love about reading other people's book.
Yeah, I mean, same for us. That's why we've done it 180 times.
That's
or
the
whatever.
whole thing we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know this is such like a random side tangent that I could have talked about forever ago, but the Forbidden Book of Tangible Realities, that little red book that came with Warpland, honestly, I have to say, it's one of my favorite things ever. I wish more games like came with that, because it's basically a quick start for the rules, but also for like the lore. Like, it's a really easy flip through, and if you don't want to have like the entire thing at your table, like having that little book right there, it makes it so easy to
like a
stay in the game
for the system. Yes, but it also has like a bit. It has some songs that it does not have the main book. It has some riddles, some small Easter eggs.
Yeah. Are we gonna see any more Forbidden Books of Tangible Reality for any of the other things, or is that just a Warpland kind of thing?
If the production costs allow it, because it's really becoming really expensive. I mean, since I started, the prices keep going up.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that it does not get prohibitively expensive for people.
Yeah.
Because I know that everyone's on a tight budget and buying a lot of books like yourself. So everyone's like cluttered with books. So I need to make sure that what I do is a good balance between quality and price.
Yeah,
very fair.
Yeah,
it's also a challenge. If it were up to me, I would fill it with little books and posters and lots of stuff. But I rather concentrate on.
This is just capitalism limiting art again, you know?
Yeah, which, come on.
But at the same time, there's a community backing your project directly, so I cannot complain that this is
fair.
But I mean, even within the context of Hell Knight, exactly what you're talking about, like it came with a poster and it came with like a little GM screen, and when you flip to the back of the book, there's like 8 or 10 spreads that are just like pure art from like all these fantastic artists. Like, you still find a way to put that into all of your things, which is like, as a consumer of games, is great to see, and great to see every time you put something out.
Well, we managed to include that Johan Noor artwork in Black Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy about it. It's a great piece. It's the last page of the book. I love that piece. I saw that piece and said, I want this piece for Black Rainbow. So we managed to do it.
That's awesome. and because I remember there's a blue and red spread in Hell Knight 2, which is Johan, near the back of the book as well.
Mm-hmm. Of a dragon. A dragon, the dragon play an interesting part in Hell Knight, because it's like on the origins of Hell, they were the original dwellers of Hell until the demons came and they expelled the dragons. And Black Rainbow is going to expand a bit on that, because some of those dragons ended up on Earth.
Yeah,
as
and then
people,
yeah, and then take acid, and then we'll see what happens, right?
Exactly.
with the Hell Dragons, yeah. I mean, again, like, I don't know, like it's. I'm never gonna get over how much, for me specifically, like your work speaks to the things that I enjoy, like it's kind of like dark with a edge of like a little bit of humor to it, and even the way that the poster and collage artwork. I mean, you have such a distinct style, and it's one that speaks directly to me, and it's the reason that I'm going to be a fan of yours for as long as you're making stuff.
You're going to make me cry now. Really appreciate what you're saying. But I agree that Hell Knight in particular was the one that I tried to develop my sense of humor in that. After Neurocity, which is like bone chilling, for me it's horrifying. I get goosebumps when I think of Neurocity. It's like my nightmare becoming true.
Yeah.
So it's like a very big opposite from that.
Yeah. But again, still finding a way to make it all fit together into your work and make it all seem like there's a through line through all of it, which is really fantastic to see. So, gosh, I think we kind of hit just about everything. Is there Lords of Death and Illusion, just in case anybody is on the fence about backing it, do me a favor and say like one last pitch for those people that like if someone is thinking about backing Lords of Death and Illusion, like why should they?
Well, if they want to play a GM-less, easygoing game with a very flexible system, and I mean, my play testers, I have like a little club in my house every Friday when people come over, and most of them, half of them at least, they are not from the role-playing game community, so they just jump here and they play. Yeah, it's really we had a success with people coming over, and so we play tested the game with a lot of non-RPG people, and it works. They keep coming. So I absolutely recommend it if you are a burnout GM as well. And you
I am getting a little burnt out actually. So
yeah.
Most of the GMs are half of them are all burnt out.
I burnt out years ago, and that's why I haven't run anything in like 2 years. But yeah, but hey, Gavriel, Lord's Death Illusion is on BackRicket right now. I'm gonna make sure that the links are down below in all of where it's the internet. People know where they are. But for people that are looking for your older projects or for everything we talked about today, Neurocity, Warpland, Hell Knight, where can people find all of those things if they're looking for them right now?
Well, they can if they are old school like me and they still use Facebook, which is unlikely, they can join my Facebook group, Worlds of Quiroga, or if not, they can find my page, my official page, www.gavrielquiroga.com. That's a WordPress. And they can also add me at my Instagram. That's also Gabriel Quiroga.
Yeah. And then I think... I'm not sure if Neurocity is still in print, but I'm pretty sure Hell Knight and Warpland are both currently available for print in Exalted Funeral as well, right?
Yeah. They can find Neurocity in Exalted Funeral as well. All my works are in Exalted Funeral, yes.
Cool. Nice. Awesome. I just got to say, it's been too long. We've been chatting for a while. Finally got a chance to actually have you come on the show, and it's been fantastic to talk to you. So I just want to say we really appreciate you being here and us letting us, pick your brain and everything for these games that we've enjoyed.
I really appreciate also you doing, guys, this. I think that's very important for the community, the work you do. So thank you for having me. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Thank you. We definitely should, especially after the next couple things come out. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that's us for today. So again, Gavriel, thank you so much, and we will talk to all of you later. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.